I hope no one's offended by this story. Just like I hope no one's offended by my Cowboys jersey. It's Dallas Cowboys football time once again, after all. So, a few years ago, I worked for this couple. They owned a house, and they also happened to be restaurant owners of a restaurant here in town. A pretty good, pretty successful specialty restaurant, and the food was really good, and it was really great atmosphere, and they were really great, super cool people. Well, I worked for them for about, I think it was a year and a half or so. Well, they ended up moving across town, so I didn't work for them at their new house, but they got me the ladies, the main lady I dealt with. It was a lady and her husband that owned this restaurant, and she got me her she ended up getting me her sister-in-law as well as a client. So I cut her sister-in-law's property as well. You know, pretty nice lady. You know, they were all pretty cool. Well, one day the lady calls me up and starts telling me, "Oh, hey, you know, we need you to come and give us a price about this to do a cleanup and some work at this investment property we just purchased." They had just purchased a second property, and they were calling it their investment property. So my thinking is they're going to rent this house out, you know, kind of what people do, you know, these days. They rent out a property, and, you know. So I went over here, and this was in the middle of, this was like December, so it was wintertime. It was freezing cold. I think it was like 31 degrees that day. I went out and looked at this property, and it was in bad shape. It was in very bad shape. I mean, there was tall weeds in some sections. There was tall grass in some sections. Just, you know, stuff that had been left there for months. There was a big pile of leaves in one corner of the backyard that looked like they'd been there for 6 months. I mean, the yard hadn't been cleaned up at all in the fall and winter. And it was just a mess. It was an overgrown mess. And they had some debris in the backyard that needed to be hauled away. I mean, it was a bad situation. So I looked at the property and thought about what all it was going to be, and, you know, how long it was going to take. And I sent the lady my price, you know, and it was going to be, you know, it was going to be a little bit of money to clean it up. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, these are nice people. These are good clients who, you know, I've worked for a long time. They're, you know, they own a restaurant that's very successful. They've got, you know, they just bought a second house as an investment property. They built a new property for themselves up in one of these, you know, fast-growing regions around here. So they've got the money to spend on this cleanup, you know, the work that needs to be done. They've got the money to spend on it. Well, the lady sees my message and comes back to me and says, "I am sorry, that's not going to work for us. My husband was offended by the price." And I'm thinking to myself, offended? Your husband was offended by the price? What? Like, explain to me how you're offended by a price. You know, okay, you should know what things cost. You know, you're not just going to get things cheap and free. You know, you're selling food at a restaurant, you know, at premium prices. You know, imagine if somebody walked into your restaurant and said, "I'm offended by paying $24 for a pizza. I would want that pizza for $10. Imagine if someone did that to you. What would you say? You would think, "Get out of my restaurant. If you're not going to pay my prices, then get out of my restaurant. Go to Little Caesars if you want to pay that. If you want to pay that cheap of a price." So I was, you know, kind of put off by that. You're offended by the price? Okay. So I simply replied with, "All right, well, thank you. Let me know if you need anything else." And that was it. That was the last time I worked for them. That was the last time I had any dealings with them. I stopped working for the sister-in-law after that too. I said, screw it, not dealing with this, you know, family drama. And the unfortunate part about it is I can't set foot in that restaurant ever again, because, you know, if they recognize me and they know me, who I am, you know, and they are that offended by my price, you know, I don't know what kind of service I might get at their restaurant. You know, I don't know if they'd even serve me the food. So, and it's unfortunate, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, people that, especially people that should understand the way business works, being a fellow business owner, you should understand that I would expect that, you know. It'd be like if I went into your restaurant and said, I'm not paying $25 for chicken Alfredo. I'll get that for $10 at the grocery store. Why can't I get it for $10 here? Because it's a restaurant, you know, you're paying premium prices for premium food and the experience. Same as when you're hiring somebody to clean up your nasty overgrown property, you know, you're paying for the time and the labor and the experience that that person and all the work that that person's going to do. But these people couldn't understand that. So I haven't worked for them since, and I haven't been to their restaurant since, and that's the way it's going to be.